Picture a lonely island at sunset. Two giants of the sword stand 10 paces apart. One, Miyamoto Musashi, holds nothing but a wooden oar he carved on the trip over. The other, Sasaki Kojiro, swings a gleaming blade almost as long as a man's leg. Kojiro snarls, charges, and his steel whistles past Musashi's forehead, shaving off the hero's headband. For one heartbeat, the world freezes. Then the oar cracks down, like thunder. Kojiro falls, never to rise. How did a wandering son of an average samurai instructor reach this moment? Undefeated in more than 60 duels and destined to write the Book of Five Rings, a Bible of strategy still read by soldiers and CEOs today. Stay with me, because Musashi's road is sharp, bloody, and full of lessons you'll never forget. Musashi's journey began in 1584, in a tiny village in the Miyamoto province of Japan. At that time, Japan was deep in its violent warring states era. His mother died at birth. His father, Shinmen Munisai, was a respected swordsman but a harsh teacher. By age 7, the tall, strong-boned boy had more bruises than toys. Quarrels drove him to live with a gentle Buddhist uncle who hoped prayer would calm the child's fire, but the clack of wooden practice swords in the temple yard thrilled him more than sutras. At 12, he spotted a poster nailed to a pine trunk. Traveling samurai Arima Kihei challenged any brave soul to test his sword. Musashi, too poor for steel, grabbed a 6-foot oak staff, met Kihei in a field, and knocked the man unconscious with one blow. First duel, first win. Blood and destiny sealed together. Townsfolk gasped. The boy only wiped sweat from his brow. 3 years later, another challenger, Tadashima Akiyama, underestimates the lanky teenager, who is now about 15 years old. Musashi ends the fight before Akiyama can blink. Word spreads. A prodigy stalks the back roads. Civil war still raged across Japan. Armies under rival warlords marched, burned, and bled. In 1600, the Great Battle of Sekigahara ended the chaos and lifted Tokugawa Ieyasu as shogun. But Musashi, then 16, emerged as a masterless Ronin. Instead of pledging to a lord, he shouldered a bedroll and went looking for the strongest men he could find, certain the road itself would hammer him into something extraordinary. Kyoto offered the first true test. The Yoshioka school, proud guardians of imperial sword tradition, boasted that no outsider could match their skill. Musashi challenged the headmaster, Yoshioka Seijuro, yet arrived hours late, forcing the elder to stew in anger under the noon sun. When the duel finally began, Musashi shattered Seijuro's arm with one lightning swing of a bokken. Shame devoured the school. Seijuro's brother tried next and fell dead. Then a 12-year-old heir and dozens of armed students set an ambush. Musashi slipped behind a cedar, struck first, scattered the mob, and walked out of Kyoto alive. He was 20, and already a legend whispered in every tea house. Fame drew hunters. In Nara, he exchanged friendly blows with spear monks who prized technique over ego. In Miyamoto, he faced Shishido Bacon, master of the chain and sickle. Watching the rhythm of the swirling chain, Musashi rushed the gap, cut once, and Bacon dropped. Each battle refined a new idea growing in his mind. Fight with two swords at once, katana in one hand, shorter wakizashi in the other. Offense and defense merged like twin wings. His father's harsh lessons about timing now met his own taste for improvisation, and the style called Niten Ichiryu was born. Not all rivals fell. Muso Gonosuke, a bowstaff prodigy, attacked unannounced and lost, then vanished to a mountain shrine. Months later, he returned wielding a shorter jostaff, and the rematch ended in a respectful draw. Gonosuke founded a school that flourishes even now, proof that Musashi's edge sharpened others as well. April 13th, 1612. The Island Duel. Musashi rose late, carved his oar, while the boatman rowed slowly, landed with the sun blazing behind him, and felled Kojiro with one decisive strike. Witnesses renamed the place Ganryujima, School of Kojiro Island, so travelers would forever ask how the great longsword master died there. The undefeated swordsman could have opened academies or basked in court life, but rest bored him. Instead, he hired out his blade to frontier lords, supervised castle repairs, and even helped suppress the Shimabara rebellion at 53. Between campaigns, he sketched ink hawks that seemed ready to fly off the page, carved wooden Buddhas for roadside shrines, and studied Zen meditation. Fighting had honed his eyes. Art now filled them with subtler targets. The curve of a pine bough, the hush before dawn. Pain finally slowed him. Burning nerve aches crawled through his limbs. Seeking calm, he climbed to a limestone cave called Reigando, set down a straw mat, and in the dim lantern glow began the work that would outlive every duel, the Book of 5 Rings. He arranged the wisdom of 40 years into 5 scrolls, each named after an element common folk understood: earth, foundation. Hold the sword as naturally as you hold a walking stick. Build a stance as steady as packed soil. Water, adaptation. Like a stream, change shape to fit any channel. A warrior copies no fixed pattern. He flows. Fire, combat. Strike at the very moment an enemy decides to think. Fire does not ask permission before it burns. Wind, other schools. Study rivals, praise what is sound, expose what is hollow, but never mock. The goal is clarity, not ego. Void, the unseen. When body, blade, and mind vanish into one action, nothing remains but pure intent. That is victory before the swords cross. Musashi wrote in crisp farmer's language so any soldier could grasp it. He hammered one lesson on every page. Timing beats power. Arrive half a heartbeat sooner, half a step aside, and the strongest enemy collapses like rice straw. Strategy, he insisted, was not limited to war. A potter, poet, or merchant who knows the way broadly will see it in all things. Centuries later, CEOs would underline that sentence, gamers would quote it on forums, and martial artists, from kendo halls to mixed martial arts cages, would trace their footwork back to his paragraphs. He finished the manuscript in 1645, handed it and his few belongings to his most loyal pupil, then felt the edge of his own mortality. On June 13th, he bathed, dressed in formal robes, tucked a short sword into his belt, and seated himself facing the cave mouth. Katana in right hand, walking stick in left, back straight as a pine, he gazed out at the light until breath slipped away. He was 61. Today, tourists still hike to Reigando. They find an empty stone recess, and if they listen, the sea wind that sighs through the cave seems to echo Musashi's last, simple rule: observe, adapt, strike, and keep your spirit fluid as water. The boy who once swung a village staff grew into history's most famous samurai, but his sharpest weapon turned out to be a brush dipped in ink, drawing lines that cut across time, straight into our own restless lives. Musashi's life reads like a myth, yet every step carries a lesson you can use. He wins by studying opponents, by seizing the terrain, by turning even a boat oar into advantage. He proves that skill must evolve, that mind guides muscle, and that mastery in one craft unlocks insight in every other. In war, art, or business, the principle stands: know the way broadly, and you will see it in all things. Remember the man on the sunset shore. He faced the greatest sword in Japan with nothing but carved driftwood, and walked away a legend. What obstacles look like Kojiro's blade in your life? How will you craft your own wooden oar and strike? If this story gripped you, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Many more untold battles Wait just ahead.